Crimes Against Folk is brought to you by Electro Voice, makers of fine microphones, loudspeakers, and other awesome audio equipment. They are the ones that have given us these wonderful RE20 black microphones that we use pretty much all the time, don't we?
Yeah, basically for everything.
Yeah, basically for everything. You use them on your voice, on your guitar, like your organ.
You know what I recorded this week?
What?
Harmonica.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I want to hear that.
I'm terrible at it.
I still want to hear it. So you can record terrible harmonica too.
Yeah, but it sounded so good.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah, I was really impressed.
So if you want to sound awesome at harmonica, just get an Electro Voice RE20 Black.
That's the ticket.
We want to thank them for their wonderful support of this show. If you want to learn more, go to electrovoice.com and you can find out more about all the wonderful equipment they have there. Also, special thanks to our lovely patrons who directly support this podcast. We do every week, we'll have like bonus stories that we'll share with our patrons, behind the scenes stuff, behind the song stuff from our Songs in Witherword, extra tips and tricks videos so you can learn something along the way. Our Patreon is chock full of stuff.
It really is. I mean, this is just like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It runs deep on Patreon. It's like what sunk the Titanic, basically.
Exactly.
So go there.
So if you want to directly support Crimes Against Folk and get some awesome videos into the bargain, visit patreon.com/crimesagainstfolk and learn more about the tiers that you can support us at there. And as always, we thank you for your listenership and your patronage. If you like what we're doing, feel free to share this podcast with your friends, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, give us a like and a review wherever possible. And we hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello once again, everybody. It is time for Crimes Against Folk. I'm Ed. That's Ash. How you doing, Ash?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm here. You made it another month.
It feels weird doing these shows every month now. I miss doing them every week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's a lot of work to do it every week.
I know. But, it was funny because since... a whole month went by, we had to do a little bit of wait, what did we do? What did we do for this again? Because it became so second nature for a while. And then that second nature kind of went out the window.
Yeah, all the pieces oh yeah, forgot I have to start this thing and run that program and do this. And
right.
It's it's a process. Yeah, you forget when a month goes by.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful guest today.
Truly.
Talking to the incredible, inimitable Jay Poole.
There's Ed with those words again.
They're really good words, trust me. Jay Poole is a fantastic multi-instrumentalist and producer who lives here in Arizona. And Ashley is very well acquainted with Jay.
Yeah, we were in a band together for a while. A band called Delcoa of Arizona.
And so we get to catch up with Jay and figure out what he's doing, how he's been keeping busy during the pandemic. And it's a conversation you won't want to miss because Jay is probably one of the nicest people that I've ever met. You know? Absolutely.
And one of the most supportive people, too.
Yeah.
And humble, and when he shouldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just a wonderful, wonderful human being. But yeah, we're going to get going with a little show and tell before we talk to Jay.
Yay.
So it's my turn this time, and I sent along a photo, not of either of us.
Nope.
But a photo of a wonderful artists we played with in Portland, Oregon. And his name was Connor Sherland. Mm-hmm. And how did we get connected with Connor? I can't remember.
I think they just put him on the night with us. Like, I think it was like a random Monday night showcase thing. And they booked us and Connor.
Right. That's right. And I feel like he was just starting to like get out there.
I feel like you're right. But I think maybe as a solo artist, like maybe he was in a band before.
I think that's true.
He was really good. He had wonderful songs.
Yeah. And he was a nice dude too.
Yeah.
I mainly sent this along though, not entirely because of Connor, but I remember this weekend. This was the weekend you met Brad.
I was like, I know this place. I could never forget this place.
And I saw it pop up, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's Connor. Oh wait a minute, I remember something else that happened that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is not where I met Brad, but it's the first place that Brad had decided to follow me to.
Yep.
Which led to 4 years of following me all over the world after that. So clearly he enjoyed it. Yeah, that's funny. That's nice that you shared that. And it was funny because we were, Brad and I, Ed and I all met at Brad's parents' house in Eugene, Oregon, which is a whole nother story for another time. But that's about 2 hours from Portland. So when we left for Portland that day, I was like, oh man, I want to see this guy again. We got to Portland and he texted me. He's like, hey, so I'm thinking about driving up to see your show tonight. And I replied with, I wouldn't be mad about it, which is a joke between Brad and I. We do that to each other a lot now. I wouldn't be mad about it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but we were sitting at the bar. He came in and I was crushing on him so hard. And we were sitting at the bar and I'm pretty sure you could like see the energy like bouncing off of each other. And Connor walks up to us and I was like, oh, Connor, this is my, friend Brad and blah, 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 blah. And Brad's like, yeah, it's so funny because, Ed and Ashley got to meet my parents and they adopted them immediately. And Connor goes, oh, so you guys are like brother and sister. And at the same time, Brad and I both very loudly went, no.
I don't remember this.
And Connor was like, whoa, okay. Yeah, you were not there for this part.
Okay. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I can't.
No.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. That's really funny.
Yeah, but that's such a nice memory. I vividly remember like looking out at the audience and seeing Brad out there. I was like, God, he's just such an attractive man. I just can't even deal with this. And my friend Jeanette was there, who's like
Jeanette's cool.
She's the coolest, and she's so overprotective of her friend. So she was sitting there just like glaring at him, like, "What do you want with my friend? I will cut you if you hurt her."
Yeah, she would do it too. I would not.
She would do it.
Put it past her. But yeah, I just thought that was a nice memory because, it was this kind of, it kicked off this kind of thing where, or we'd play a show in Colorado. Brad was there, or we go to like Montana or whatever, and Brad showed up. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, he kept showing up, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many different places. Wisconsin. Oh, there's Brad.
Yeah. Germany. Oh, there's Brad. New York. Remember New York?
Yep. I do remember that.
Yep. He kept showing up.
But yeah, I thought that was. I mean, I shared it also because I remember Connor, because Connor's a super cool dude. But that was the main reason, because I was like, oh, yeah, this is that first weekend that they met each other.
Yeah. And Connor is a cool guy, and I'm sure he still has music out there, so you guys should check it out. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a fun little show. I mean, it was a very light crowd, but it was a Monday night, and it was, it was just a fun little show. I remember it. The place was pretty cool.
That was a neat place. Yeah. I do remember that. Mm-hmm. So there's my show and tell. Wonderful memory from Portland, Oregon, back in 2017.
All right.
Just a long time now.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah. Although I feel like 2017 is like the new, like 2000.
The 90s.
Yeah, or the 90s. Yeah, 10 years ago.
10
but
years
2017 is like, oh, last year.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, that was 4 years ago.
It does kind of feel like, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Well, let's talk to Jay, shall we?
Wow, yes. Can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, so now we can start.
All right.
Now it's official.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Ashley.
Nothing's
Long time
official
no see.
around here. I know. Well, I just saw you not that long ago.
Yeah.
That was so great to see you, and it made me feel really good to embarrass you on stage.
Yeah, that's right. I sort of forgot about that. Yeah. I don't want to play guitar because Jay's here. Like, oh God.
Well, I meant
Trying to be all incognito, and it never works. But, you know, as bad as I felt, you guys really called out Cameron Degurski.
We sure ripped on him.
So, yeah, he got his.
That was really fun. The best is he showed up the next day to the show, and he sat like way in the back with like a hat on.
Oh, nice.
And he comes out at the end of the show and he was like, surprise!
I'm here. Ha!
I was here all along.
I was like, I knew it.
So what was your, you did a couple of nights there and a couple of sets. I saw the first show, which was outstanding.
Yeah.
What were your favorite moments from the performances?
So we're talking about the musical instrument museum. Or was the music instrument museum? I can't remember which one.
I think that's right. Music instrument. Yes.
The MIM in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is confusing because sometimes they say Phoenix, Arizona.
I think it's like right on the border.
It is. But I'm like,
I think it depends on the audience they're trying to get.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're cool, then it's Phoenix. And if you're not cool,
if they're trying to get a different demographic, it's Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And I played a show there with two other female songwriters from Arizona in a round. And it was a really magical show. First of all, the MIM is absolutely the best venue I've ever performed at. Mm-hmm. And I've performed all over the world. It's just everything from the acoustics to the crew to just the kindness of everybody. That goes a really long way with me as far as determining the best venues. Yeah. And the stage and the lighting. I mean, just everything about it was just perfect. And the size of the room was great too. Very, like, it's a big room, but manageable. What is it, like just under 300 seats in there? Something like that?
Just, 298.3.
Okay. So we're talking to Jay Poole right now, and Jay and I have both now graced the stage. But yeah, I think before we get into the introduction of the podcast, because I guess we're jumping right in here, we'll kind of go back to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we're not going to we'll do the intro later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the question for me was my favorite moment of the show, and or some of them, or what? It's so hard to choose that because, first of all, I absolutely loved harmonizing with the other two women. That was very, very
cool.
It was cool, especially because, we didn't really know each other's songs that well, and you could tell we all like rehearsed and practiced and wanted to make sure to put a lot of TLC into each other's songs. And that really came across. But honestly, the point of the show, the entire point was to show. Okay, let me back up a little bit, because when I first started seeing that the MIM was doing these rounds, and Jay Poole, I love you so much. I love all the men of Arizona, but I don't understand why there aren't more women being invited into these rounds. I love my men, but it was very disappointing to me to look at these rounds that were happening of specifically local musicians without a single woman on the show.
Right on.
And it really bothered me a lot. So I contacted the MIM and I said, well, okay, something needs to be done about this. And why don't you let me put a round of women together? And they were like, of course, we love that idea. So I picked Crystal Baker and Sydney Sprague, who I just really love what they're doing. And I've known them for a really long time. So it was really hard for me to choose which two women, but I'm hoping to do it again and kind of rotate some more. But I think like that was my favorite moment of the show, is just like doing, women are so underrepresented, they're underrepresented. That is not the right word. Underrepresented is the word.
Underrepresented.
That's it. Thank you. It's underrepresented and in the music industry, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse, and it's absolutely shameful, and I don't know why. And I mean, I'm talking kind of on a bigger scale here. Like, you look at the Billboard charts, and it's something like under 20% of the songwriters on the Billboard charts year after year after year after year are women. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go above 20, and it doesn't get better. It gets worse. So, I mean, that's a much larger level, and this is a very small level. But to me, I feel like, because I'm sitting back looking at these numbers, and I'm looking at these things that are just pissing me off, and I'm going, well, okay, stop getting mad about it and like do something about it. What are you going to do? And so I feel like I did my part, and that was my favorite part of the show. And I'm going to keep doing it too. I've got, in fact, it's so funny because I came back to San Diego, and there's a winery that Ed actually played with me at called Ramona Ranch. And they emailed me and said, can you do women's rounds here? So now once a month, I'm going to be running those here. So I guess this is my thing now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you kind of did it in Nashville for a while. I mean, you had that songwriters thing, and yeah, I know the occasional dude showed up with fear of their life, but it seemed to me that it was mostly,
there were, I would say it was
majority.
From my experience, it was about half and half, maybe 60-40 women.
It was, but it was a woman running the show, and it was a woman running the soundboard.
That's true.
Don't argue it. Just say yes, man. Trust me on this.
The point she's making is that the last two parts are the most rare part of that entire thing.
Oh yeah.
All the other rounds were done by men.
Oh yeah.
All the sound is run by men. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Ashley and our mutual friend Lauren were kind of running the thing is
just a charge, man.
That's the rare part.
Yeah.
So. And I don't know if I ever ran across another round in Nashville that was doing that. I didn't.
It's rare. I'll see all female cast. But yeah, you do see rounds run by women, and there are more and more. Jay, have you heard of movingtheneedle.org or sheisthemusic.org?
The Moving the Needle, yes. The second one, no, I don't think so.
There are two different organizations that are kind of helping to, because I think sound engineering in particular, it's less than like 3% of women. It's so pathetic,
and it's getting better. Because when I'm reading, my tape op and mix magazines and all that stuff, it's like there are more and more women producers and women engineers, and they kick ass, man. It's a different. There's almost a different flavor or feel to their mixes, and I'm generalizing crazily, but I can hear a difference sometimes in the mixes that they're doing. So
it's a different set of ears. Cool. Like it's just a different set of ears that when you're as an industry, locking out so many pairs of ears, that's just, you're not going to survive much longer.
Yeah, diversity is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
and and even in my world, guitar land, it's getting much better. But maybe up until even, I'd say 5, maybe 10 years ago, it would be if there was a female guitar. Well, she's a good female guitar player. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? How about she's just she's just a great guitar player.
Yeah.
You have to generalize that she's female or green or orange. No, just a great guitar player. That's all.
Well, that's funny because we've talked about that before. In fact, Ed did an episode once about top 5 bass players, but he did it. They were all happened to be women, and he never said top 5 female bass players. He just said,
dude. So
top 5
hold
bass
on.
players.
I got Carol Kay, and then after that, I'm stuck for the other 4.
Well, it wasn't top 5. It was just 5.
Sorry, 5 you should know.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Still 5 you should know.
I'm trying to remember the names.
Like Carol Kay is the one that stands out to me right away.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember the names.
You didn't even mention. You didn't even have Carol Kay on there.
No, I didn't have Carol Kay because people. Here again. Listen. It's not top 5. It's not top 5. It's 5 you should know. Because everybody knows Carol Kay.
Everybody knows Carol Kay. You and I know Carol Kay.
Don't you know Esperanza Spalding?
Okay, awesome.
Amazing bass player.
Yeah, you know Esperanza,
great
right?
Singer.
Yeah.
Like most people probably don't know who Esperanza Spalding is.
Mohini Day.
You know, there's another one. See, I don't know who that is.
I don't know that either.
Mohini Day smokes just about any bass player. Like, she is just crazy good.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll need to look it up. She's like a fusion type of player.
Yeah.
Just amazing chops, amazing musicality.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Nice.
Cool.
Right.
Tal Wilkenfeld.
Tal's awesome.
Yep. Who was the other?
That was a good one. Jeff Beck.
She
she also sings and does a whole acoustic guitar thing.
She does her own thing now.
Ash.
Oh, cool.
I just knew her as a bass player, but
So you know more female bass players than you thought.
Mm-hmm.
They just, Carol Kay was the one that came to mind because maybe I was thinking that will be the coolest one to reference on a podcast. It make me look kind of hip.
We're not cool.
Yeah.
We're not cool.
Tal Wilkenfeld's pretty happening.
And there were 3 others, but again, I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Well, definitely check out Mohini Day. That is,
I will.
Like, as soon as we're done with this podcast, just look up one video of her, and you'll go, "Holy crap! What just happened?"
I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah. Good.
So,
but that was the whole point of the exercise, was to just, like, in the title say 5 bass players you should know, and then they're all women.
Oh, right on, man.
You don't lead with that.
I like how our podcast has, like, accidentally become this feminist podcast.
Well, accidentally.
Totally.
Well, you guys are. I noticed you probably titled these after the fact.
We do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Jay,
like I said, we have no idea.
Actually, feminism and you.
I told you. Jay's like, well, what do we talk about? I'm like, I don't know. We talk about whatever we feel like talking about. Just
whatever
come on.
happens. We're just hanging around, chatting.
Yep.
Talking about.
All right. So
you thought you were being interviewed?
Well, it was a great show, and that's totally cool, Ash, that you took the initiative to talk to the MIM and say, "Hey, nice singers in the round, but where are the women?" And that they realized right away that, oh, this is kind of an oversight, and they had a couple of great nights, so to their benefit.
We did really well in ticket sales, which surprised me because that room kind of swallows people. Like, it seemed like there weren't a whole lot of people there. And then he gave me the numbers after. I was like, oh.
Nice.
Well, plus you had 2 nights in a row, which is scary.
Yeah, and we did that. We did that when they were only at half capacity, and we're like, oh, well, then we'll do 2 nights. And they're like, surprise, full capacity. We're
capacity.
Like, okay.
Get busy. Sell tickets.
Whoops.
Womp.
I was relentless, man. When I did them, I'm not a huge Facebook guy, but people were tired of me saying 30 tickets left, 28 tickets left, 17 tickets left. Too late. Yeah, I was.
Did you have a sold out? Right. So we should mention to our listeners, because I'm not sure where we started recording in this conversation, that Jay Poole has also performed at the MIM with it was an acoustic extravaganza, or I don't know what it was called.
It was extreme acoustic. Bill Dutcher does them twice a year, I think.
Twice a year, and so you sold out the MIM.
Yes,
wow.
We did. I can't say amazing. I did it, but there's 3 of us, right?
All right, fair. You did it.
But to my credit, I was definitely the most vocal. I will say. Actually, if you'll forgive me saying this, I Ashley Nortoned that stuff.
Oh, I love that. Except it's got to be Ashley E. Norton, because remember, Ashley Norton's a doorknob company.
Yes. No one is more tenacious with that stuff than you. I'm like, what would Ashley do here? All right, I don't care if they're sick of me. Come see my show.
Yeah.
I've been practicing 5 hours a day for the last 4 months, doing stuff I'm not comfortable with. Show up. And then I had a bunch of folks from, my day job show up, and that's even more nerve-wracking. So a lot of my friends showed up, some of my family, and most of my coworkers, my boss's 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 boss. And then I'm thinking, hey, I probably don't want to do too well at this, because then they're not really going to think I'm working at my day job. So,
I wish I lived in town still, so I could kind of have come to see that show. But maybe hopefully you'll get to do it again. But what was your favorite part about? I mean, like we mentioned, the MIM, it's just the best venue in the world. It's the best venue in the world, so it's really special. If you get a chance to go see a show there, go. But Jay, what was your favorite? You asked me, so what was your favorite part of performing there?
Well, I kind of already told you, like the walking out on the stage 30 seconds or 5 seconds, and as I'm crossing the stage saying, why did I do this? That was my least favorite. And then 10 seconds later, as I hit the first chord and my guitar was in tune and everything sounded good and just getting the vibe of the place, that was my favorite moment. Although it was kind of funny because I hadn't done that sort of thing. I mean, we talked about before, I'm a backup guy. That's my thing. I want to make you, Ed, whoever I'm sitting in with or playing with, I just want to make them sound as good as possible. That's what I can feel my job is. So when it's just me, it's a whole new thing. So what I ended up doing is Crystal held a bunch of open mic nights at the Dubliner. So for 3 months, I would just go to these open mic nights with my acoustic guitar and just keep doing these things. And all I can say is I'm really glad there wasn't tape of that first night, because I have never been. It's me and Crystal and like maybe 5 other guys with their guitars and 2 patrons maybe sitting at the bar. And I get up there and I'm just like, okay, I'm glad I'm doing this first. Before I'm doing it at the MIM.
Yeah.
And I only had one of those moments at the MIM during the performance. It was pretty smooth. I was a lot more relaxed than I thought I was going to be. But again, just because you over prepare for that kind of thing. And there's a section of Over the Rainbow, and I kind of do these harmonics. And I went to do the harmonics, and my hand just starts like doing this shake. It's like, stop. And so I just like smack the strings a little bit. Okay, that part's done. Next. So, and then I did the MIM again. We did the Tom Petty show. At the MIM, which was super special. That was just a great experience. Yeah. So MIM's a good joint. But I look at every gig as I try to think, hey, maybe it's my last gig. So just give it 150%, and that's what you do.
And you always do. And so quick background for everybody. So Jay Poole and I were in a band together called Delcoa many moons ago. And we played a lot of really cool shows. We did a little bit of out of town stuff, and we had this standing gig every Sunday at the Wrigley Mansion, which was really fun. We did, but I mean, I can go into Delcoa, but it's you said I Ashley Nortoned this earlier, and it made me think of another time where you Ashley Nortoned something. And when I think Ashley Nortoned something, I think you do the stupidest thing possible without caring that people might look at you and go, this is the stupidest thing possible, in the chance that it just might work. That's my I'm sure you guys have a different definition of that, but that's mine. Just the dumbest
when I
shit.
Ashley Nortoned something, I view it as like tenacious as anything and do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Okay, well, I like your definition a little bit better.
That's how I look at it too.
Well,
and I'm sorry to hold your thought.
Okay, I'm holding.
But another example of that, if you're speaking of the Wrigley Mansion and Delcoa with Jay Allen and Ethan and Tony
Ethan
and
Newman,
you and I
King,
is we did the CD release party.
Right.
You were on fire, man. Like there was no way that was going to be a fail. And that was a huge success.
Yeah, we got 500 people there.
Wow.
I think we had closer to 7.
Yeah.
By the end of it was, they had to turn people away. So, and that was because you're like, we're going to pack this, advertising. I don't even think we had the book of faces at that point. Maybe we did.
No.
I don't know. But
no, I was mailing tickets off to the radio stations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was nuts.
So,
that was nuts.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Ashley, you were saying?
Well, I was specifically, I love this story. I was specifically thinking about the time that we became a bluegrass band.
Okay. All right, Ed, maybe you've heard the story. Maybe
I have heard this, but I love the story.
So the best
and I'm going to take full blame for it because, I'm not usually the one that really tries to exert my will over the rest of the band.
Yeah,
this is kind of the one time I did.
And
so
Ethan,
a buddy of mine said, "Hey, I can get you." I forget what it says. Hey, I'm gonna go. I have a buddy that runs a Telluride Bluegrass Festival. And he knew I played like a little bit of like I think I'd bought a banjo or something, and he said, "You guys want to come up and play?" And I'm like, "Sure." So we're having a band meeting or after practice one time. I was like, "Hey, we can play at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival in Telluride. How awesome is that?" And I expected
hell yeah,
everybody to go, "Yeah, you're amazing, Jay." And everyone kind of looks at me like, but wait, we're not a bluegrass band.
Everyone but me. I was like, I'm in. And everyone else
Ashley was in. Yeah, Ashley's like, all right, let's go. It's a bluegrass. So, we ended up doing it. And it was specifically Ethan was like, "We really shouldn't do this. We really shouldn't do this." And he said, "I'm only doing this because I really like you, Jay, but we're not a bluegrass band." And I'm just dumb. And I'm like, "Bluegrass? What's bluegrass? It's 3 chords, yeah, we're going to be fine. Acoustic, fine, let's go."
You bought a mandolin and you learned the mandolin for this.
Yeah. So we learned, like, we took a couple of our Delcoa songs and I think we did one of my songs and we turned it into like a bluegrass thing.
Yes, that's sorts. Right. Yeah.
And we did. We played a couple songs. We weren't a bluegrass band, and it was pretty evident to everybody there who was bluegrass musicians, but it wasn't a complete disaster. However, at the end of that, I did say to Ethan, like, "Okay, you're right. So we're not a bluegrass band." But,
he kept saying
and that's, I had been so unexposed to that whole thing. You get up, and I'd heard Bela Fleck, but that was more like in the fusion and the Flecktones thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you hear guys like Chris Steele and, all these like real bluegrass players. It was really a holy shit humbling moment.
Yeah.
But it was great. I confess, I totally exerted my will on everybody. We're going to Telluride.
I was so proud of you, though. I was so happy in that moment. I was like, it's not me for once, first of all.
Finally, someone else is being a pain in the ass.
And then, but yeah, I just, the late and great Ethan Newman, who we miss every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I love keeping these stories alive because he was just the whole time, like he just kept saying it over and over. And he'd be like, in the middle of rehearsal, "We're not a bluegrass band." Like on the way there. We are not a bluegrass band.
I think I had Tony playing drums on the back of my banjo or something.
Yes, you did.
I forget what we did. He had like brushes on the back of a banjo, and
you did. And then,
I played mandolin for a couple of
you bought a mandolin and you freaking learned the mandolin for this, which is shows you how great of a player Jay is.
Well, let's put that into context. I bought a mandolin and I learned hand positions for 4 songs.
All right. But still, you did it.
You did it. And it was fun. And, I guess I'm always looking to do new and different and exciting things and, go through borders and walls. And
you do.
We're a bluegrass band.
Yeah. Which the judge at the end of this, the judge came up to us and was like, "God, I love you guys. I love you guys. I mean, I can't move you on to the next round because you're not a bluegrass band, but I just love you."
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that reaction. That's so great.
And Ethan Newman was just like, yep.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing with the bluegrass, like, hey, 1 microphone and 4 people standing around 1 microphone. So it was kind of a neat bonding moment. Geez, actually, I had forgotten all about that. That's a funny story.
It was a good time too. Sitting
good memories. And Telluride was awesome, and we did, I don't know, 2 or 3 other gigs while we were there. And
Yep. We got to play some real shows, and we had some fun. Get to see and please, who headlined that year? It was the Talking Heads guy headlined.
David Byrne?
Yes,
really?
David Byrne.
No, or was it Elvis Costello?
No, it was David Byrne. I remember this clear as day. It was maybe Elvis Costello was like the next day or something, but David Byrne was one of the headliners. So we were not the only people out of place.
I was going to say, so speaking of not playing bluegrass, but he's David Byrne and we're Delcoa. So
yeah, true. Fair.
Somebody got to move on to the next round. Bastard.
But Jay, speaking of, because you said this a minute ago, and you love like trying new things, experimenting with new things, new sounds, new instruments. One of the things I learned from you is you're never afraid to learn. You're never too big to go. Like, to me, you're the best guitar player I've ever worked with, and I know you scoff at me when I say that, but it's true.
I do. That's like one of those, hey, Jay's in the audience moments. Like,
yeah, and you're but that said, you like one time I remember you're like, I'm taking guitar lessons, and I was like, say what now? And it just makes me be like, yeah, because like no, like I'm teaching some guitar lessons now, but I'm also about to start taking them because I need to get better too. Like, we all constantly need to get better. And you're always learning these new instruments. And I think that you can really hear that in your solo albums that you've released as well. And
I try to break it up.
Yeah. How many do you have released by now?
So I think I've got 3 solo records, and I've got like another 3 sitting here, on my workstation now that I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. But sometime over the next month or so, I have to start letting some of this music get out into the wild.
Yeah.
So, but that was what we did during the pandemic. So myself, Tony King is playing on a bunch of it.
Nice.
Bill Dutchers on a couple of tunes.
Oh, cool.
Who else is on there? Mario Mendeval is playing on 3 or 4 tunes. I know there's a few that Mark Lettieri from Snarky Puppy is on a tune.
Oh, cool.
So that was the guy I was taking guitar lessons from. And I said, hey, I bought a bunch of guitar lessons from you. Can you do a solo on my record? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Fair.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of cool. And the songs are still all instrumental, and I'm trying to make it, I play guitar, so there's guitar on it, but I'm always trying to be conscious to not make it a guitar centric record. And that's something that I loved about that Witherwood album that I told you guys both about, that came out about a year ago. It's like, it was just so musically awesome, and it was just balanced, and there wasn't, I don't want this thing to be, oh, hey, here's another guitar solo. Oh, here's another guitar solo. It's like, hey, what's the music saying? What's the melody? What's the arrangement? And can you keep a listener's interest through, 3.5, to 4.5 minutes of instrumental music?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the answer is, but hopefully it's going to be yes at some point. So that's been fun. And I don't know what happened. I had just like a whole, like music was just kind of pouring out of me. So you guys know this. You go with it while you can.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But it's pretty diverse. I've got some country type stuff. I've got some surf music. I've got all kinds of some 80s rock kind of stuff that came out.
Ooh, and all instrumental still, you said. Yeah.
Yeah, still all instrumental. Although I did just do a project with Jay Allen and Tony that was super fun. And he's asking a bunch of guys in the area. I think Sturgis is going to be doing one, and Jason Johnson's doing one. So it was like, hey, here's one of my songs. I want you guys to produce it. So he played me a couple of songs, and I said, oh, I want to do this song, but I don't want a guitar solo. I don't even want guitar in it. So I just kind of did something in here, and I sent it back to him. He said, wow, this is like the Talking Heads just did my song. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So
that's cool.
I think he's going to put that on an EP, and I'm super excited because I haven't heard any of the other songs, and I know it's going to be all over the map. There's going to be no, musical center on it, which will be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So that was a fun project. So I can say that had vocals. Although
there you go.
I just did the scratch vocals and then like, please, Jay, come and sing this quickly.
That's cool. I just saw that on Facebook. You posted he's got new music coming soon. That's pretty fun. I'm looking forward to hearing that for sure. That's really interesting. You didn't put guitar on it.
There's guitar on it, but there's no guitar solo.
Okay.
And if you listen to it, you might not even hear the guitar.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. That's exactly what I'm talking about with you, like pushing your boundaries, and that's really, really cool.
And I'd love to say it's something as like cool and sophisticated as me pushing my boundaries. It's just I get sick of listening to me.
Right. Well, per your point, I feel that way, and that is something that Witherword did. We would, especially when we made and like whether it's just Ed and I, or if it's Ed and Stephanie and I, or a couple times it was Ed and Stephanie and Patrick. I'm sorry, Stephanie Groot, and then I should say last names, and Patrick Hershey did one of them with us too, and we would always sit around and go, okay, well, what are we gonna do next? And I'm with you. I like a variety of sound. I like that you're talking about all the different musical influences that are in your the songs you've been writing, and I don't think that it all has to end up on, like, one style has to end up on one album, like other people typically like. But
not anymore, right?
No,
I think that might have been music business, and in the 1990s. All right, it's all going to sound like this, and it's all got to be one label, and it's kind of cool that stuff is, on one hand, like pop music is getting pretty horrid, but like all the other music is really getting pretty amazing. Just for musicianship and compositional, and people, breaking down barriers, and part of that's from, I grew up, in the 70s. That was kind of like my influential thing. So it was, a lot of fusion, and that was just what it was all about. It's like, oh, there's no way you're sticking with one style. It's like, we're going to take some country, we're going to take some jazz, we're going to take some rock, we're going to stick it all together, and maybe it'll be good, and maybe it won't be, but, we're going to actually try to sound different and do something new. Yeah. So I guess that's always been part of my DNA.
Yeah. How do you, is there a typical way that you approach your own songwriting, or is it really just on a case-by-case basis? Really?
That is a great question, and maybe I can give it varies, as you guys know. So, and tell me how you relate to this. So, once in a while, you'll have a song. It's already fully formed in your head. It's like you'll wake up and it's like, oh, this song is there. Like the whole thing is there, and then you just got to figure out how to get it down. There's a tune I call those
lightning strikes. I call those lightning strikes.
Yeah, and they're pretty rare, right? So that's maybe 1 in 20.
Yeah.
There's a song called "Everything Special" that it's like a kind of a Chet Atkinsy type of country tune that Bill Dutcher and I that I did and then sent over to Bill, and he put some Weissenborn lap steel on it, and I'm really proud of that tune. And that was one of those, wake up and there's the melody in my head, and I can actually hear the voices saying everything is special, and it's like, oh, that's so cheesy, but it's going to be a perfect name of the song, and it just comes out. And then other times I'll have a high level idea saying, so it'll almost be just like a musical challenge. So for instance, there's one song, it might be the only song I actually know how to play on banjo, and I wrote it, and I said, I don't want it to have bridge, chorus, bridge, chorus, bridge, chorus, tag out. I want it to just morph from the start to the end, and not really, but have it sound like one complete piece, but not have it with any repeating sections, and change keys, and hopefully come back to it. So you kind of have this high level idea saying, this is what I want to have happen. And then, you sit down for a week or two and you build the idea. And then for me, sometimes I have the idea a lot faster than I have it on my hands. So I've got to get the things like, okay, now I know how to do it. Now I've got to work on playing it. And so it's kind of a lengthy process. And then other times, it'll just be, all right, I'll come in the morning and plop a guitar and just start noodling around, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool lick. And it usually takes like, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden ideas start kind of happening. And then I'll just like pop that idea down, and then maybe I'll just let it sit, and I'll come back to it a week or two or a month later and say, oh, that was pretty cool.
Nice.
I had one song that I thought was not going to be anything super special, and I went back to it and I'm like, oh, what if I could do that and that? And it turned, I think it's gonna be one of the stronger songs that I finished up with, just because of, well, I'd love to take full credit, but I had some great, Roy Cameron did drums on that. I know I was forgetting some folks. Another guy, Andy Greeter, played sax. So turned into this like kind of really cool, funky piece. So
cool.
It varies. But I think with writing, it's like anything else, man. You just got to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, I was kind of in a dry spell with writing. Well, you weren't writing. So, I'll come up with 10. I mean, I might have 30 or maybe 40 songs that are kind of like done and in the can. And then there's another 40 ideas that didn't make it to song status. So, that's with me. And a lot of times it's just like, yeah, this idea sucks, or this idea is repetitive, or, I can't think of anything else besides, a verse or a chorus. And, you just let it aside. Maybe it'll ferment and turn into something else later.
Yeah. Is that how it works? So I don't really know much about instrumental music. And for me, obviously I'm such a, vocal first person. So I have a hard time kind of like breaking down a song as to like what's what. Do you write a song, like an instrumental song, like you would write a song with like a vocal hook, as in like, is there like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus kind of a thing, or whatever format you choose?
Absolutely. So that's another great question. And, just because it's instrumental doesn't mean it has to be overly complex or complicated, or, hey, let me show you everything I can do with my instrument. But because it has to have, I always think of, for my verse and choruses, I always try to think of singing. I can't really sing, but I really like to think, what would a melody sound like, or what would a singer sound like doing this? And it just makes it that much easier to come up with something that's, easy to listen to, and, hopefully memorable for at least 30 seconds after they've heard the song. But I will, lyrics, that's a whole other ball game, man. Like melodies, I can do chords, I can do melodies. Lyrics, no way out of my value. I did a writing session with Ryan Sims. And it's like, hey, help me with some words. And I'm like, okay. Hey, help me with some words.
Just nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah, I had one word. I think I ended like now at the end of the sentence. I'm like, that's my contribution. So, Ryan and I are good buddies, but I never did another writing session with him after that one.
Have you thought about like sending your songs out to a vote? So I recently learned about top line writers, which means, have you heard of this, Ed? Top line writer?
No.
It's basically you get the song, and as a top line, like I do it all the time on like BandLab, but I just didn't know there was a name for it. You write the music on top of you write the lyrics and a melody on top of an existing piece. So have you ever thought about like sending one of your songs out to a lyricist and seeing what they can do with it? Because that would be kind of interesting, I think.
Well, let me put it this way. If you hear anything on these forthcoming songs that you're like, I could put some lyrics to that, I will say absolutely have at it. It's kind of weird though with these particular songs, I kind of feel like they are what they are.
Yeah.
But if somebody else hears them and says, hey, I want to do something with this, or change something, or add lyrics, I'm like, I'm all about it. But I write them as instrumentals.
Yeah.
And that's how I hear them. So it'd be tough for me to say, and I've tried it a couple of times. Hey, what about lyrics? Ooh, it's just kind of tough. Right.
Yeah.
But and then I have jazz. Other stuff that I'll write that like, whatever we do with it. Yeah, it could be like an underscore for a TV show or something. That's fine.
Yeah. I Ashley knows this, that I'm not as big of a fan of of this is, but my experience comes from people doing it in jazz, and it's usually done terribly.
Well,
in jazz, so in any other genre, I think you have a little more leeway.
Well, and also I think the like if it's written for vocals is a different thing. Like maybe it would be harder to do it on your tunes, Jay, because it's not they're written as instrumental pieces, so it might come across as I agree with Ed. Those songs, like those jazz standards that were instrumentals, and then all of a sudden someone adds lyrics, and they're just terrible because it's not meant to be like that.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Only exception is Manhattan Transfer's Birdland, and Al Jarreau did. There's maybe one that Al Jarreau did. Actually, anything Al Jarreau did is fine.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of how I feel. And if we're writing for vocals, like this thing with Jay, that was kind of cool because I don't have to worry about the guitar parts. I can just worry about giving a cool backdrop for his vocals.
Yeah.
So that was more of an arranging kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Very, cool. very, very. It's fun. I love doing it. And as I said, now the whole thing is, what am I going to do with 40 or 50 songs that I've been, hibernating with over the last 18 months? But I'm thinking over the next couple of months, I'll start releasing them, doing like a weekly release, and just let them grow.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Into the wild.
Yeah, because I think people are like not. That's starting to change with people just releasing a song at a time and letting it kind of germinate and then go to the next one rather than kind of trying to collect them all together. And I don't know if it's just because people that they're thinking they're thinking about the songs and creating the songs kind of in their own space rather than collecting a bunch of songs. I think that's less common for a lot of creators now.
Yeah,
so I think shifting.
I miss albums though.
Yeah,
I love the idea of like, all right, here's my idea, here's my package, and boom, and that's what it's going to be. I do love that, but you're right. It's the music format is largely dictated by technology.
Yeah.
Right. A song was only 3 minutes because that's how long a 45 could be. And that was what the technology was at the time. And now that you have, that streaming is the primary way of consuming music. Well, it doesn't make sense to release 10 or 12 songs that people may or may not listen to. Or one song that people may or may not listen to. Right?
Well, it's like it's the non-linearity of it. Like people typically are not hearing the songs in the order that you would intend them anymore.
Yeah,
like they're hearing a single here, a single there, and then maybe they'll get the album after, and maybe they'll listen through it that way. But it's not a guarantee that they will anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So,
side note, it was. Thinking about, I've had the pleasure of sitting in with you guys quite a few times, and thank you for the invites. And that I do that a lot. I'm usually the guy that gets the call because like everybody else couldn't make it, or it's last minute and the guitar player got sick. And so I've kind of developed a pretty decent ability to just know when not to play and know when to play and be able to kind of pick up stuff and work pretty quickly and make it not seem like I was added last minute to the to the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it, and I do that a lot with Jay Allen, and that's pretty straightforward. Do it with Ryan. And at certain points, because I've done it so much, I can almost see I wouldn't know the songs, but I can tell what chords they're playing just by looking at their hands from the back of the guitar neck.
Mm-hmm.
The exception was when I'd sit in with you guys, and usually I do that in autopilot, but with a lot of Ed's tunes, I was like, oh man, like on my toes, buddy. They were great.
It's not immediately clear what's going to happen looking at the back of the guitar neck when I'm playing.
I don't play on a lot of Ed's tunes because
they're great. The chords are so refreshing and innovative and just different. And it's not, and they always make sense where they're going at, right? It's not just like you're throwing a bunch of random shit together.
Yeah, I don't like doing that.
Oh, these chords all flow together beautifully, but it's not the stuff that I'm usually used to, having, being able to follow, on semi-autopilot.
Yeah.
So I always love that like slight feeling of terror when I've got to do a couple of your songs. It's like, oh man, I got to be on this. I have to look at the front of the guitar neck, number one.
You're welcome.
And I really got to keep my ears open because you will not just hang out in one key center. You know,
no, that's no fun.
Yeah.
That's no fun. I mean, to me, when I think about a song, like for me, the background construction of it is just as important as the lyrics and the melody. Like that, you can construct and build so many images and so many things by just putting chords in a certain order. Like that, you don't even need a melody to paint pictures a lot of the time. All you need to do is just put this chord here, put this chord there, you know, change that chord, take a note out, you know, like that. All of those things can make a song, like can turn a good song into an incredible song because you're painting the rest of the picture with the chords that you use. That's how I've always thought about you know, how I choose chords to play. So I always try to treat that as importantly as the rest of the song, you know, because I think it
they're always
matters.
really, really well thought out. And like I said, I love the fact that they're not predictable, but they make sense.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's true. I think there was like one song where Ed challenged himself to kind of just do a basic like G to C kind of thing. I'm thinking of Fortune Favors, Ed.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, see, I can do it. I'm like, yeah, except for the bridge, which you go to this totally different time signature and totally different like
tonality.
Yeah, I think he jumps to like a D for or something for the bridge, which is so weird. And then the time signature changes, and then you have to go back to the original afterwards. So it's like, sure.
That's the part I changed. Was like, I kept the chord simple, but the time signature is. I mean,
hey, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah,
true to yourself.
He couldn't just do it though. He could. We also have a joke. But with Ed and I have it's mostly mine, I guess, but I always say it's too easy for Ed, because there was one time we were in the studio and I had a song, and again it was a G and C and D song, as I do. I write the basic songs.
And we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, all right, noted. And but I remember going in the studio and being like, okay, Ed, well, can you record the guitar on this? Because at the time, I think I've graduated to a much better guitar player where now I can do my own studio recordings, but that time in Nashville, I couldn't really. So it just wasn't very good. Or good enough. So Ed would do them a lot, but he couldn't do this like G to C. He could. He would help, but he had to rehearse it.
It was the way you played it
because it was
that
too
I
easy.
Couldn't replicate
because it was too easy.
It wasn't too easy.
Yes,
it was the rhythm that you were. It wasn't the rhythm. I'm sorry, not the rhythm, and that's not what I meant.
No,
the accents that you use are not, and that is just how you play the guitar.
Yeah, which is a self-taught nightmare.
Yeah, I don't play the guitar like that, and I'm like, the way I play this, it does not sound good. So you are going to have to play this.
It was too easy.
So a couple of things, with that is that number one, kudos to you, Ed, for having the ear to say, hey, you know what? I'm not picking up the right accents on this, and I've got to, by the way, did you end up doing it or did you end up bailing?
He did it. All
right. Cool.
But so there was another time where I went in and replaced Ed's guitar part because it was too easy for Ed on his song that he freaking wrote.
Oh, that's right. That was what I was thinking of. What was the other one?
So I'm thinking of Frequency when we recorded with the Madison Hearts.
Oh,
and you were like, I just need a day. And you came back and you nailed it. But there was another song, Hand to Fate, where he was like, I just can't figure out how to make this acoustic guitar work. And I don't even think I was like, well, how about this? And then I ended up recording, and I think that was my first time like actually appearing on our records was with an acoustic. And I was like, oh wait, I can do this now. Okay.
Yeah. So kudos to you, Ed, for like either saying, hey, I can't quite get this, or taking the time to figure it out and doing it. But then the second point is, there's such a beauty in simplicity.
Oh, sure.
You know, simplicity with a melody line, simplicity with chord structures, you know, because it doesn't have to be complicated. And, you know, complexity for the sake of complexity drives me up a wall.
Yeah, same.
And you know, if something's, so I love a good 3-chord song, you know, almost any Tom Petty song, you know, 3, 4, 5 chords, and they're amazing and they're fun to play. Right. Yep. I'm not stressing, all right, did I hit the altered major ninth on that? Yeah, I'm not. It's just like, I got this.
Yeah.
So there's a beauty to that simplicity. And I love that, you know? So ways to do it all.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I think, you know, that's what makes that's what's so important about collaborating with other musicians, you know, is we all have different strengths and weaknesses. So like Ed having the complex chord structures and then me coming in with the more simple ones. But that's why our music works, because we both offer something totally different and kind of meet somewhere in the middle. And similar, when I was, you know, I remember specifically in the recording studio with you, Jay, the Delcoa album, and I it's just a funny
in this
thing.
Same room.
And in that, my heart. But I remember
blue at the time. But
I remember you said we'd been playing out this song Signed Heather with Delcoa for I don't know, like a year. And we go to record it, and you go, by the way, Ashley, you know, I'm not really one to listen to lyrics, and I've never listened to the lyrics before until I had to record the song. They're really great. But what's great about that, though, is you always capture the feel and the emotion of the song, and you're able to, like, even though lyrics aren't really your thing, you're listening to something completely different that I'm listening to, which I think once again made that album so great, because we're all coming together with the different things.
10 or 12 years later, I'm still super proud of that project. That was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Jay Poole produced the Delcoa Simply Listen album.
I didn't produce it. I had the most recording gear at the time, so we did a lot of the recording.
So you produced
my place.
He produced it.
You were conscripted into producing.
Well, and then when everyone would leave, I'd be like, "Oh, cool," you know, and then they'd come back, and sometimes they'd say, "Maybe not," and then sometimes they'd say, "Oh, that's really cool." But so I produced it in that maybe I ninja'd a bunch of guitar parts into the record. But it was definitely the whole band producing it. That was as close to a democracy as you could get in a band, with everybody agreeing and everybody still kind of being on the same page.
Yeah.
And another song, Signed Heather was one of those, and another one was Jay Allen song that closes the record, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like, hey, I woke up, and I don't want the dream to fade away.
Oh,
and like I never listened to the lyrics, until after I had done all the parts, and I was like, holy shit, these lyrics are awesome. And it just kind of worked that all the parts like just fit, and the whole song just gelled, along with it. So.
Yeah.
Fun times. Hey, I'm glad you guys asked me to join your band.
Hey, well, you really made that band a band. I think we were just having fun up until that point, and then it was like, oh no, we're really something now, and we're
really a bluegrass band.
Yeah, we're. Oh, and just. I mean, how lucky we are to have all those years performing on stages with Ethan Newman, who.
Yep. Ethan and Jay and Tony. It's just, you look back at it, and sometimes, I don't have to tell you guys anything, but it's a hard business, and sometimes it's a hard life. It can get, it's so fraught with highs and lows.
Yeah.
That, the lows can kind of start to get the best of you, especially over the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
And once in a while you take stock and say, wow, look at all these awesome memories I have. Look at all these wonderful moments I've been able to share with great people and friends. And, maybe we've been able to touch people's lives, make their week a little bit better just by hearing you perform. That's kind of it's a pretty awesome gift. So I try like hell to remind myself of that every time I'm sitting down, like, oh God, I can't play another note. And sometimes I need to take a day or so break, and then I'm back.
Nice.
But after 50 years or so of playing guitar now, I added it up. It's like, oh my God, I'm playing this instrument for half a century. Yikes.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, you don't look old enough for
thanks, Ash.
half a century.
It's this young filter that I have on Zoom.
Oh, can you send some of that my way, please?
I put Vaseline over the lens.
The nice soft glow.
Well, we're super excited that you agreed to hang out with us and share some wonderful stories and insight from your travels and your experiences. We do have to get going, but before we do, first of all, where can people find your music?
They can find me on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. I hate to say that the last record is J. Poole, Almost 11. And that's it's getting old. It's about 10 years old now, but it's still out there. I played on a bunch of Ryan Sims records that are also on Spotify. I played on a bunch of Jay Allen records that are also out there. So and I'm hoping that within the next month or two there will be a bunch of new stuff.
Nice.
I'm sure everyone's as tired of listening to the old stuff as I am. So
I really look forward to hearing the new stuff. Jay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do a weekly release, maybe every Friday. Just like, hey, here's a new tune. Have fun.
That's awesome. I think that's a great idea.
And our final question to you, which is something I've been asking people lately. What's the first memory you have of driving?
Of driving?
Yeah, just out of curiosity. What's the first memory you have of driving?
All right, I'll give you two, because I'm glad it's not a musically related question. So I have two memories of driving, and they're probably not my first memories, to be fair. But when you asked, it's like, all right, what are the first two that stick out?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one was learning to drive in my mom's Subaru.
Nice.
And it was a standard, and we lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and unlike Arizona, Pennsylvania has hills. So we lived on this giant incline. And so, she said, okay, back out of the driveway. So I backed out of the driveway. I'm like, okay. And of course she's saying you're going too fast. And I get back on the street, and then, you're like a, 30-degree angle. And it's just, okay, now let out the clutch and go.
Oh,
and
no.
I could not get the car to go up the hill. That was it. I was stuck, and I got all panicky because I didn't know how to drive a stick, and I did not yet know how to use the emergency brake to get up a hill. So that's one memory of driving.
She just threw you right in the fire, didn't she?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, all right. So I might have got my license, and I was living with my dad, and my grandmother moved in with us for a couple of years. And she had this big old 1976 T-Bird.
Ooh.
And it was like 1.5 miles long, and it had the big Ford 429 engine in it. Wait, I take it back. I didn't have my license yet. But so when she was out and when my dad was teaching, we had a driveway that would go up and then up into a little cul-de-sac. And so I would practice doing burnouts in my driveway in the cul-de-sac in her giant T-Bird.
Did they find out about it?
And that was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
my two memories of driving.
Yeah, did they find out that you were doing that in the T-Bird?
My grandmother knew. She didn't care. I don't think she ever told my dad.
That's awesome.
She was like, yeah, whatever. That's fine. Have fun. And it was giant. Look up Google a 76, and it was a 2-door T-board. So the doors are this long, and they weigh about 200 pounds a piece. It had a Landau roof, a horribly ugly car with this giant engine that did burnouts. Awesome. In my little 20-yard cul-de-sac. It was awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that that's your first driving memory.
Yeah.
Or one of them.
And on that note,
well, yeah, thanks so much again for hanging out with us, Jay. It's so
always
good
a
to
pleasure,
see you.
Guys. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, hopefully we'll be making music at some point in the not too distant future together.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, when we start booking some shows, we'll call you and see if you can join us again, because that was super, super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and if any of these tunes I start releasing on Friday sound like they need lyrics, Ashley, please have at it. Give me a call. Let's do it.
You got it.
Nice.
I'll listen every Friday.
All right. Hey, thanks you guys.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye.
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 Oh, man. That was fantastic.
I love our Crimes Against Folk shows, because I feel like, you see your musician friends at gigs, or you see them online, especially in the last year and a half. And you don't really get like the full spectrum of what's going on with them, both musically and personally, until we have them on this show.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, wow, you're doing the coolest shit.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
I can't wait to hear Jay's new songs and this other thing that he produced for Jay Allen. That's super cool. We got to get Jay Allen on the show too.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one.
Yeah. And honestly, I personally don't know too many people who do like instrumental music.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know that. Jay's probably the only person I know personally who does like instrumental music. I don't really know many other people who do that outside of jazz. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So
especially crossing genres like that. I love it.
Yeah. So I think I'll be excited. I'm kind of excited to hear what he's gonna release here in the near future too. That'll be kind of nice.
And it gives me an idea too. Maybe for our next project, I like that he pulls. I mean, he's like this amazing guitar player, yet he pulls in Bill Dutcher, who's an amazing guitar player, but like he doesn't need to pull in Bill Dutcher. Like he plays all the guitar parts amazing on his own, but like he does it probably to get a different flavor and a different flair. But like that would be pretty cool to like pull in some of our musician friends on whatever album we decide to release one day, just get some guest appearances here and there would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree.
People do it with vocalists a lot on their albums, and you don't necessarily hear it with instruments. So, yeah,
that's true. I guess
Jay treats his guitar like a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense if you think about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to make sure to keep an eye on Jay Poole socials. That's Poole. If you're searching for him online, and we want to thank everybody for hanging out with us on the Crimes Against Folk podcast. We release these monthly now, and you can subscribe on any podcast app that you prefer listening to podcasts on. We'd appreciate it if on that app you would follow us, subscribe, give a review. Just let us know what you're thinking and how you're doing out there. And you can always check out our Patreon if you want to support us. You can find that at patreon.com/crimesagainstfolk. And until next time.
I feel like I have a tagline here.
Oh.
Line?
Yeah, what's your tagline?
I don't know. It just felt like that was my cue to give one. Until next time.
That's okay. Until next time can be the tagline.
Yeah, but what's mine? That's yours.
Oh, I thought we just share one.
Oh, you say until next time, and then I say until next time.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Until next time.
Until next time. Ta-da!
There you go.
That's terrible.
It doesn't resolve like half of our songs. So
I'm going to think of this tagline. Next show. Tune in the next show when Ashley comes up with her tagline.
We'll have a month to figure out our tagline. So if we haven't done it by then you guys can suggest one for us.
Yeah, please. If you have a tagline in mind, go for it, because I will probably forget.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.